these are the emails, and the apology video is after. If you need to pause to read them, please feel free.
I want to talk about some emails that I sent years ago that resurfaced recently. The tone in these emails was dismissive and curt, and that is not okay. In 2019, I didn't have a team around me. It was just myself. I edited every single video. I answered every single email, and I was overwhelmed. But that is not an excuse. Everything lands on me. I think the hardest part about all of this is being labeled racist. I'm half Chinese, and growing up, issues of identity, race, and belonging deeply affected me, and I would never intend to inflict that onto anybody else. But I do understand that reading these emails, people could be upset and assume bias, especially given the frequency at which people of color experience being dismissed. And so I take responsibility for my words, regardless of what my intent was. I also want to acknowledge people's concerns that they were mistreated or felt dismissed or treated less than on the red carpet. Live events move really fast, and I would never want someone to come see me and leave feeling that way. But I do understand that it could happen, and it did happen, and for that, I am sorry. I like to think that I have grown a lot in the past 7 years, and I always want to treat everybody with respect that they deserve, but clearly, more could be done, and I can do better. And so that's a thing that I want to focus on, improving, and just working towards being better. These are just some thoughts that have been weighing on me, that I wanted to share. And so thanks for watching.
Hi guys. So I wanted to touch in on the conversation about the Glambot guy. I believe his name is Cole. And so I wanted to touch on a few things, a couple things, with the apology that he gave. I think that the apology is just okay. It's subpar. It's not bad and it's not great. I am glad that he did apologize. It is on the more positive side of apologies. But it was a few things that I wanted to mention that, we can kind of talk about that I did not agree with him. So the first thing was him mentioning that he didn't have a team. And so here's my thing with that. In saying that you did not have a team is insinuating that you are busy. And it's insinuating that, you're overworked. Maybe you're overwhelmed. You're just busy. But in the email, that's not what it was giving. And here's what I mean. If you are busy, most people will be short with the person. Short and straight to the point. You want to book? Okay. This is how much it is. I'll send you my availability. Very short, clear, and to the point. But in the emails, he was actually prolonging the conversation with all his assumptions that this woman was not able to, would most likely not be able to afford his services. And so I don't believe he was just busy or overwhelmed, because an overwhelmed person, a busy person, would be very short, concise, and to the point. But he was not. He was prolonging the conversation with his blatant insinuations that this woman would not be able to afford the services. Even basically outright saying, after he told her the price, that you're not going to book, which is disgusting. Basically, he said after he told her the price, he basically said, and you're not going to book it because it's $300,000. So thank you for wasting my time. That's basically what so we'll leave that there. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is finding a classy way of telling someone a price. So when things are more expensive, when things are on the prestigious side of pricing, it is more exclusive. The price is not going to just be flaunted right then and there. You do typically have to speak with someone a little further to get more exclusive pricing, get the more premium priced services. So a more professional way that this could have been done is, I've seen this done 1,000 times also, is sending someone a pamphlet. Once someone has emailed you or called you or is inquiring about a service, and you can maybe go through a brief consultation, but you can say, okay, if you are still interested, I'm going to send you this pamphlet. And this pamphlet goes through what the services we offer, what our business is all about, pricing, hourly rates, different policies, how to book, when to book, scheduling. All that can be done through this pamphlet, and maybe connected to a website. That is a more effective way and non-offensive way of vocalizing prices. It leaves the onus on the other person, and it's more professional. This whole interaction was basically just extremely unprofessional. And so I also wanted to mention him saying that he was half Chinese, or he had Asian descent somewhere in his bloodline. And so I guess maybe insinuating that he, has experienced prejudices in the world and does not want to spew that onto another person, perhaps. But being that this is I believe she is African, from what I gathered from other blog sites. I believe they said Nigerian. But being this is a Black woman or a woman of African descent, Asians in America has spewed some of the most racist interactions with Black Americans. So I don't know about him being Chinese or having Asian descent. Does that have anything to do with him? I don't know. Was he trying to gain some sympathy? Because the Asian community, now things are getting better. But the Asian community has a history of being extremely prejudiced and racist towards Black Americans. So I'm not exactly sure where he was going with that comment. But we will watch the story closer. I'm glad he did apologize. But it was some things within this apology that still shows that there are some work that needs to be done. And I think that whatever network he is working with needs to have a discrimination class with him and maybe a few others to make sure that this kind of stuff never happens again. Because you cannot tell someone's class if they have money, if they don't have money, if they're a celebrity, if they're a producer, whatever. You cannot tell class and status through a picture. Not everyone who has money is famous. So I will leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. And we will be watching the story closely. Thank you.